You guys wanna see his bald spot? He's got a bald spot.
Listen, yeah.
That's why he's wearing a bean. He told me to bring it.
Listen, yeah. You don't expose another man's insecurities like that. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Brothers, sisters, basically my mom, my dad, and your parents pretty much. Only people that are going to be watching this. But hopefully more. Hopefully. Oh yeah, Ibi's watching as well. Shout out to Ibi, our cameraman. Probably mention him, like in the end scene, the credits. That's it. You're never gonna see his face because we don't want to lose subscribers. I'm missing. So yeah, after school hour, man. So our podcast, the reason why we decided to make this podcast is because obviously we're not sheikhs or anything, yeah. Which I'm gonna say a lot. These guys though, because like our
support the time.
I'm not a sheikh or anything.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, like in our test I said it like 50 times. But yeah. I'm not racist or anything. I'm not a sheikh or anything. We're not sheikhs or anything, but obviously we came from like a Muslim family background, and we're all at uni right now. We're all in third year, and we all kind of went to we had different type of situations. Like for example, for me, I moved out for uni. Tahmid, he commuted for uni, and Saad, he lives in the city for uni, so he just drives on to uni, And we all went to the same high school, so we knew each other from, for time, and shout out to KD Grammar School. We all kind of had different experiences, but what we noticed, especially because the three of us, we have been involved in ISOCs, so what we noticed was that there are a lot of things, a lot of problems, a lot of issues, a lot of topics that are relevant to Muslim students that, are there, present for Muslim students that no one really talks about, or no one really knows about. Like before you go to uni, you have no idea
what
you're getting into, and there's no one that gives you a heads up watch out for this, or how do you deal with this situation, how do you deal with that, what's the best way about prepping for uni or prepping for this and that,
or even dealing with some certain situations.
Dealing with certain situations, because there's going to be a lot of things, whether you're super practicing or not, right? There is going to be a lot of conflict between sort of the normal, what do you call it, sort of the norm compared to your faith, your beliefs, right? There's going to be a lot of conflict between it, and you may have not in college and high school, you may have not been really practicing or really, you didn't really think too much about faith. But at the end of the day, you still had you still went home and you still prayed and stuff, and there was nothing to stop you, and you didn't have any bad influences at home. Yeah. For most of us, right?
Yeah.
So there wasn't too much to be exposed to, or too many things to deal with.
Yeah.
But then when you get to uni, you actually have to deal with it, and you actually have to make that choice.
I hope most of the things that they're in your favour.
You have to make that choice. Okay, do I actually want to do this? Do I actually want to pray? Do I actually want to go clubbing instead? Do I
what are my priorities right now?
Busy trying to find yourself.
Yeah, because you're finding
find yourself.
Find yourself.
It's cliche, but it's true.
Yeah. It is true. Yeah.
Or just find what you believe in, really.
Yeah.
Find out what your purpose is.
What your truth is.
Find out your purpose.
People use uni as the basis for that, because it's the time when you're most.
I think uni is a good measuring tool.
Yeah, it's the first step into adult life or something. And so with that, it will come with all the problems that will come with adult life.
I mean, I think through uni, you can gauge what your personality is, what your type is, and you can find other people that fit. Because a lot of people they get told that through high school, if you don't interact with a lot of people, or you're an introvert, you like being away from people, you're a social outcast, blah blah blah. You don't talk a lot, you don't do this, you don't do that. But when you get to uni, I think you find a lot of comfort in other people like you.
Everyone's in the same boat.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's in the same boat. You'll definitely find people similar to you.
Everyone's stressing.
Everyone's stressing about exams, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everyone's procrastinating for the dissertation.
Yeah.
doing full, all-nighters towards the end of exam season.
It's like in high school where you're the only one that didn't revise, but you're the
Yeah.
only one that has revised. No one else has it.
Now let's be realistic. No one's revised. Not even you, bro.
Hey, the same about me.
You know what I'm saying. So yeah. With that said,
we've all got different experiences. We've all got different points to.
Yeah.
But the main reason we started this and we're doing this is to bring about real issues and trying to keep it real and keep it as
keep it PG.
Yeah, that too. Keep it as real as possible. Basically, bring to light the issues that affect all of us as Muslim students, or even just as students in general, when going to uni or college or whatever, and whatever we face in student life. Just because it's quite a gap in the market, quite a grey area that's not talked about much often, about things that a lot of us go through, and we kind of each deal with it in our own individualistic way. And so this isn't like a podcast to give a solution or like tell you what to do.
Yeah, it's not like a lecture or anything. It's like it's just us talking about
how we dealt with
it, and maybe it might help you, might not help you, or it might inspire you to figure out other things for your situations.
It's just like,
but we hope that we can bring some sort of discussion.
Yeah, of course.
It's kind of like the goal of it is kind of like to bring out this sort of community for Muslim students. That obviously, like, we have ISOCs and stuff which hold events and stuff, but there's not really much of a community where we kind of like,
especially in our own community, there's some topics which like it's taboo, you can't talk
everything's
about.
Taboo in our community.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like there's not really much of a community where we bring awareness to certain things, either because we people think that it's not that important, especially like adults, and they're like, oh, back in my days, I had to walk 40 miles to go to high school. This is nothing for you.
I think what it comes down to is like, I don't know if any of you know of Hassan Minhaj, the comedian.
Yeah.
He was talking about this he did like this Q&A segment as part of his show, and he was saying that our parents' generation and the generation before them, for the ones that have been here since like the 80s, they were just about trying to survive. Their entire life goal is, and it still is, survival. Like, because they came here, or they were brought up here, and they came here, and they just want to survive all the time, and that's their ultimate goal. Even when they're 60, just trying to survive. But for us, we want to live, and we want to live properly, because we're here for the long time, innit? So for us, it's all about living the best way we can. In terms of like our standards. So I think that's the major difference between our generations. That's why
we've been set up with a life of ease and being.
It's like for them, they had to actually like for a lot of us, we're second generation.
Exactly.
Wherever in it, our parents came here from Bangladesh, Pakistan, wherever in it, and they had to worry about getting a house, being able to get their kids into school, being able to like get some sort of job so that they can pay tax, pay for rent or whatever. But for us, we don't really have that worry. For us, it's more about kind of progressing into the next stage, innit? And kind of like becoming more involved in society and community, like for our parents and stuff, they were too busy, like you said, to survive, to be able to go out there and preach Islam or
exactly
anything, they don't have time for that, but we do, right? Because we can actually engage ourselves. We don't have like the problem of a language barrier either. Because we were all born here. So our problems are really different.
I wasn't. I'm an immigrant. I'm
the
first generation.
He's a freshie,
You came when you were like what, 3 years old?
3 years old, yeah. I was really young. I was basically brought up here, to be fair.
So anyway, moving on to.
Do you have a red passport?
Wait.
I do. But I had a green passport until I was like 10.
Okay. Well, you have a red passport.
But I have a red passport. Yeah.
You're an ex-freshie then.
Yeah. I'm an ex-freshie. I'm a national now.
So moving on, starting with our first topic.
Yeah, good one.
We thought about like, okay, so how should we start this podcast, innit? And we realized, okay, you know what, like, especially for our audience, especially for Muslims that go uni, let's be real, right? Not everyone's super practicing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Not every Muslim is. I'll be honest with you, even myself, before uni, I wasn't that practicing or that conscious about my faith. And to be honest, I didn't really need to be, because you know, I'd come home from from college or high school, and my parents would tell me to go pray, they'd tell me to fast, whatever, innit? So there wasn't really much that I'd need to push myself to do.
It was a basic routine.
You know, there wasn't really a struggle when it came to making decisions, because obviously, like, let's say if I wanted to go out to party, my parents would just be like, no. So it's not even about faith, it's about my parents not letting me, you know? So when it comes to uni, you know, a lot of us, like, we come from all different backgrounds, all different ways of life, you know, even though we're all Muslims, we're all very different, you know. It's a sick thing about uni, like, you know, you go to you go to your lecture, right? You got people from different cities, different countries, different languages, different cultures, right? So obviously not everyone's gonna be super religious, not everyone's gonna be on the other side and not practicing at all. You're gonna have all of it in between. And something that affects everyone, regardless of how religious you are, how not religious you are, is Islamophobia, right? And I'll be honest with you, right? I remember because we had an event at Leicester Uni for Islamophobia, and a lot of people in the ISOC were like, oh, come on, man, Islamophobia is not real. It's not really a big thing, right? They're like, oh, I never experienced Islamophobia, so like, it's not real, you know? And so, you know, for some reason people have that like sort of logic, like, yo, if I didn't experience it, then obviously no one else did, didn't it?
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like, the city that we did it, you know, in Leicester, right, the argument that people made was, oh, come on, Leicester's like, you know, it's like got so many Muslims and stuff. There's no reason to do an Islamophobia thing. Yeah, so 2-3 years ago, there was a Somali hijabi Muslim woman, right? She was just there, you know, dropping her daughter off at school and coming back, and at primary school, right? And while she was coming back, a guy got in his car and he drove her over, right? And now you could say, okay, you know what, like, it doesn't, that may not necessarily be Islamophobia. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe he just accidentally hit her, right? But the thing is, he didn't just hit her once. He hit her, ran over her, right? Then he reversed and ran over her again. Jeez. So obviously that's no accident. You're not accidentally run over someone twice, right? You don't, sure. Right? And it was clearly Islamophobia. And not only that, after that, what did he do? He went and he saw another like little, Muslim child, right, with a hijab, and she was walking to school, and he tried to run her over as well. And you know, luckily enough, he missed her, but obviously she had a lot of issues when it came to trauma and stuff because of it. And guess what? You know, that whole incident, you know, like, I'm telling you the situation, you're like, okay, this is blatantly Islamophobia. Yeah. No one can disagree with that, right? Especially like with all the situations that were there, right? That situation, right, for 3 months or so, it was never even reported as a hate crime. Wow. Never reported as a hate crime. And that's the thing. That's why it's a problem. Like, you know, when we sit here and we say, oh, Islamophobia is not real, or it doesn't really matter, if we, the Muslims, are saying that, then obviously no one will report it as a hate crime. You know, we're the ones that need to bring it up and make sure that it's reported as a hate crime. You know, like, some of the reason why people say, oh, Islamophobia is unreal, is they bring up some statistics that show, okay, there's not much Islamophobia, and it's like, okay, consider this situation, right? This situation was reported as hate crime, so how accurate are those statistics?
How many crimes have been overlooked as
or delayed reporting? Yeah.
There was actually another situation as well at uni, right? At Leicester Uni, where this was 2 years ago, so the year before last year. They were having like an Islamophobia stall, and there was a hijabi Muslim girl that was, you know, running the stall. And there was a student who came up to her, and he was essentially harassing her. You know, he was asking questions, which is fine, but he was asking her in a very rude way, and he was sort of attacking her, insulting her, and obviously from her side, she was just saying, okay, look, I don't really want to answer your questions. Can we move on from this? You know, because she's not obligated to answer things that she doesn't feel comfortable answering, right? And what happened after that? Did this guy leave her alone? No. He kept pestering her, and then after she closed up the stall, he actually followed her all across the campus, right? Now, this situation, we reported it. And because we reported it, the SU dealt with that person very seriously. And that's because we reported it. And that's the thing, it's really important for us to firstly acknowledge that, okay, look,
Something's
Islamophobia is a thing. It's there.
And it's very real.
You know?
Anyone can experience it.
Anyone can experience it.
No matter how religious you are, you know, you could be
or what religion you're in.
Yeah, like, honestly,
like standard
for them, as long as you look Muslim.
Exactly.
Like, you know, like, no, like, before someone, like, you know, does something Islamophobic, they're not going to ask you, wait, how religious are you?
Yeah.
Do you pray 5 times a day?
Yeah, what's your Iman like? How much Quran do you know?
How much Quran do you
like,
know?
That guy looks Muslim.
Do you go Hifz class? You know, they're not going to ask you these questions.
I've known like Sikh people that have got Islamophobia.
I have Sikh friends in Leicester. They had Islamophobia towards them because they don't really care. And that's something that we all need to kind of acknowledge and be able to understand, it affects all of us.
Yeah, for sure.
And instead of like sort of dismissing it because it might not have affected you directly as of yet, maybe we should help each other with it or support each other with it and make sure that whoever it does happen to, we actually make sure that the person that does it is accountable and the issue, like, there's awareness to the issue. Because if we don't make it serious, then no one else will.
True. Very
true. You know, it's us. You know, we're the ones being targeted. We should take it seriously. If we don't, who else will? Yeah. You know, we expect other people to.
Do you think it's a good idea? Because my dad often says this. He says we have too many Asians and Muslims in traditional jobs, like engineer. The like all of engineering is overloaded with a lot of Asians. So much so that a lot of people can't find jobs. I'm not saying Asians shouldn't be engineers anymore, but do you think it is good to encourage, like, if you, for example, like later on when you have kids or whatever and children, when they grow up, would you encourage them to be more active in like the media or television presence or film presence or whatever? As long as they wasn't doing that something straight against religion, would you be willing to? Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, like, I think that is that is kind of the reason why we're in this problem in the first place. Like, you know, because obviously like our parents and stuff, like the Asian community, right? You know, they came from Bangladesh, Pakistan, wherever, innit? And, you know, over there, like, you know, being a doctor, being an engineer, whatever, it's got like a really honourable side to them.
High ranking,
right? They, like, money, it is even about money, right? Because let's be honest, like, doctors don't even get paid much, right?
Yeah.
And it's, but, you know, like, if you think about it, like, obviously, like, a lot of people who are Islamophobic, how did they become Islamophobic? It's by watching the news.
Yeah.
It's by watching TV. It actually is, like, if you ask them, right, like, just go on YouTube and search up like interviews with people that don't like Islam. Yeah. They'll all tell you, like, or people who are ex-Islamophobic or what do you call it, ex-far right or whatever. They'll all tell you it's because of TV and stuff,
and like big personalities.
And obviously that's going to be the case because there's no Muslim representation on TV.
Yeah.
Right, because no one wants their kids to be in media. And because no one's kids are there's no Muslims in media, who the heck is gonna represent us then? You know? And it's not about us like, okay, we need to do jihad of media, right? We need to take over them. No, it's just about us making sure that, okay, look, media is a platform, we need to be represented on there.
Yeah.
Same thing with like politics, with the government, with parliament, for example, right? We need to be represented in parliament.
Yeah.
Because they make decisions for the country.
Yeah.
We should be involved in that.
For sure.
Right? And that's the type of thing we should encourage our kids to, you know, be politicians, to be involved in
law
media,
and politics,
right?
In every field, basically.
In every field, innit? Not just be doctors.
I saw this thing about I read it online there. You know how when you say bringing about how people become Islamophobic or how they become like hate, you know, how they become hating. And there's this one issue where he was talking about, say, a kid in some, let's say Syria or something, just he lost his parents to, say, attacks or something, or to bomb attack or something. That kid won't grow up knowing the politics, the war, everything that occurred for that to happen. The only thing that kid will know is that his parents died to a bomb attack because of this person, and that kid will seek revenge. Yeah. And because of that, how he's brought up in that sense, he's gonna essentially become hateful with that kind of mindset. And so it's because the true situation isn't brought to light. Obviously that's an exceptional circumstance, because
it really is, like,
as in,
a lot of it is exactly like that.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, with
like,
the degree of it.
Like on the news, like BBC News, right?
Yeah.
They'll tell you, oh, there was a bombing, but that's it. They won't tell you, you know, obviously we're not trying to justify the bombings, but obviously people won't blow themselves up for no reason, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And when it comes to like ISIS and stuff, right? I remember, you know, I'll probably link it down in the description. There was a debate, Oxford University, where the guy said that according to like the main ISIS defense unit,
majority of Muslim
right?
victims are Muslim. Is that what you're going to say?
No. He said, you know, this person, he analysed, or he was even involved in like 140 ISIS cases, right? Or cases of Islamic terrorism, and he said that there is no link between these cases, these events, and the Islamic ideology. There's no link to prove that Islamic ideology is what drives it.
Oh yeah, he said about 90 or 95% of them said it's for political gain.
It was because of politics mainly, right? Because when it comes to it, for them it's more about, you know, they look at it, you know, like, okay, you know, America kind of stripped them of the oil, of the resources, kind of ruined their government, everything, right?
Yeah.
You know, just ruined their government, and kind of left them to shambles, right?
And so they're doing it to get back at them.
So they just
use religion as like
and then you know, the way to kind of like motivate people more and be like, oh, this is for Islam, you know. And to be honest, like, let's say if they were Christians, if they were Jews, they would say the exact same thing. This is for Christianity, this is for Judaism, this is for whatever religion, right?
Yeah.
They'd use it as kind of like, what do you call it, you know, as a propaganda, basically. What were we talking about?
What, you forgot? You were just talking.
No, like before, like
we were talking about Islam in the media and how more Muslims should be.
Well, maybe it's
but I think you brought up a good point, in the sense that how this stuff gets propagated initially, because a lot of people's views even now is based a lot on what happened. What was it? 2020 now, 2001, 19 years ago. I'm specifically talking about 9/11, of course. So a lot of people still have that view that, oh, they did 9/11, they did 9. It's still that is they don't forget, you know. And the reason why they don't forget is because, one, it was in one of the biggest cities in the world, and two, it was everywhere on the media for months. It was and there was no Muslim at that time, no Muslim kind of presence that was like, yo, this is not us. We did not do this. Yeah, it's not like now you have that kind of like after the Christchurch mosque, you have people coming together. You had a lot of Christians protecting the mosque, standing outside the mosque, Jews standing outside the mosque, protecting people while they pray. Now there is that thing, and it's getting better slowly. Yeah. But back then, what caused everything, what started the spark, there was none of that at that time. So that led into people's hearts, and someone that was born then is a 19-year-old now. And he could easily be a school shooter today. You wouldn't know. And you could go up a mosque and shoot up a mosque if you wanted to, or a synagogue or a church or whatever.
Yeah. And then think he'd be doing he's a hero for
he would be a hero. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think we need to look back at what happened in the past and kind of like remove those seeds that have been planted in people.
And
or at least try to.
On the other side, you know, like you said, like, you know, because obviously 9/11 it was on the Twin Towers, which is a very, you know,
big landmark.
It's a very big landmark. It's a historic landmark, right?
Yeah.
Now, on the other side, if you look at it, right, when, you know, like in Syria, when hospitals are being blown up, right, no one bats an eye over it. No one cares about it. It's never covered at all through media, through anything, right? And it's like, okay, what's the difference between the two? What's the difference between the Twin Tower and, you know, the Syrian hospital or the Syrian school
or
with
any
kids,
other Syrian building,
you know, or any other Syrian building, right? And not just Syria, obviously, you know, other places as well. And, you know, it's honestly just the portrayal from the media, right? Because if a hospital here was blown up, everyone will know about it, right? But then it's like, okay, why don't we care then? Like, is it because like Syrian kids, they're not as important, you know, as, you know, Western kids? Like honestly, that's the impression it gives me.
It's like a question of morals and stuff.
It's a question of morals. It's a question of, okay, is this person's human value less than this person just because of his ethnicity, where he's from, you know, or maybe it's because they're from Syria. What the heck they're gonna do in the world, you know, because they don't really have much, right? Maybe that's why, you know, who knows, right? But we kind of need to change that, and we kind of need okay, because this isn't like, you know, the 90s, right? Where, you know, each country was its own. Right now we have globalization, and globalization is real, is a fact. And, you know, whether we like it or not, like the whole world, all the countries are all connecting. Somewhere or another, they're all connected, right? It's not like before where each country was to its own, right? Where it wasn't really much of a responsibility to know about another country because it didn't matter to us, right? But now, since we're all connected anyway, because it's like, for example, like Syria, right? We don't need to know about Syria, but we know all the bad stuff now. So we might as well know the good stuff as well.
I think it brings up a good point about the fact that what is happening because a lot of especially Western Muslims, and I've seen some in the UK, they said, why should I care about what's happening in Jordan, Israel, Palestine, Syria, wherever, right? Because it doesn't affect me. Or even not even going to their own Muslim brothers and sisters, just general people why should I care about the Amazon forest being burnt down, right? It's not affecting me, it's not my thing. But I think we need to change our mindset as Muslims. Just because it doesn't affect us does not, or even as normal people, if it doesn't affect us, it's not me. Like, it brings back that issue initially that you talked about, that people don't feel Islamophobia, therefore they just pretend it doesn't exist. And that mindset, I think, comes from a life of just complete ignorance, where they just shut themselves out from the world and just don't care
Pretty
at
much
all.
like living in a bubble.
Yeah, exactly, living their own like kind of ideal world. And I think it's our job as Muslims to kind of encourage people, listen, these things are happening whether you like it or not. And just because you're ignoring them doesn't mean they'll stop happening, right? Yeah. So if you actually care about the world being a better place and you want to make it a better place, you need to start caring about these issues now.
As Muslims, we are taught that if one of us is in pain or conflict or whatever it is, it's in trouble, we should all feel it as an ummah.
Yeah.
You know, it's
like
the whole
body
feels
like
one body.
And one part of it feels pain.
Feels pain. The whole body should feel pain.
Yeah.
And that's what we should obviously adopt.
Yeah.
And so any case, minor or major, of Islamophobia that we come across should be spoken out, because the more it is, the more aware of it everyone becomes.
Right.
So the more we can deal with it.
So how do you think?
Yeah, we should move on to like how we're gonna start dealing with this case of Islamophobia.
That's what I was gonna ask. Like, how do you think, as like university students, we can help solve this issue?
I'll be honest with you, right? Like, going back to the whole thing about the bubble and stuff, right? And how should we deal with it? In all honesty, it's not really just ignorance that's involved, right? It's kind of like, you know, like, let's say when we, you know, when we're on Instagram, and we see like a video of like, you know, some place getting bombed, or we see a video of whatever type of, you know, someone getting harassed, or any type of injustice, even like, let's say India, and, you know, women getting raped over there, right? Because there's a lot of incidents like that. You see it and you feel a lot of discomfort, and the thing is, it's just easier for us to be in that bubble.
Right, I see.
It's like,
that
being in that bubble, like, you know, like, let's say,
protected.
if you're on Instagram, you see that video, it ruins your mood for the day.
True.
It ruins your day.
True.
And I feel like that's why people don't want to engage in it more, because, you know, if they engage in it more, it's just going to ruin their mood.
I think it also sources from the fact that you see it all the time.
Yeah.
So it just kind of, you just tune it out.
You become desensitized.
That's
the
exactly,
thing.
yeah.
Whenever you see something now, even me, like, if I see something, at first, you know, it was shocking, and, you know, I'd get really upset and depressed. But now if I see it, it's like I'm used to it, and it's just, this thing happens every day now.
Yeah.
And that's how bad it's become.
It's just like, this is life. This is how it is. It's just
become used to, you know, all this.
So what's the solution to people being ignorant, people being desensitized, people being kind of thrown off by it, uncomfortable? How do you help people deal with these things in order to actually combat Islamophobia?
I think in order to help people with it, it's not really helping people be aware of it, because people are aware. You know, the truth is, let's be realistic, everyone knows about it. Everyone knows that, you know, look, not everywhere in the world is like the UK, right?
Yeah.
Everyone knows that. It's more about kind of getting that human connection there. Like right now, it's kind of like, okay, when something happens in Syria, it's just numbers. Like let's say 100 people, okay, there's just numbers.
True.
When something happens here, right, let's say if one person's murdered or, you know, 2 people, whatever, right, then everyone knows about it. Why? They don't care about the numbers. It's about, like, you know, they give names, they give their backgrounds. You know, they say, oh, you know, this was a mother of 2 children. This man was a police officer. He saved so many lives, and he got killed like this. And he has, you know, 2 kids left. He has his parents left, his grandma left. Like, they humanize the victims a lot.
Yeah.
But in Syria, there's no humanization there.
True.
Right, and obviously I keep saying Syria, but obviously I'm talking about
pretty
much everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
You know, like China, everywhere, right? I think it's more about, we need to kind of like humanize the rest of the world.
Right. Make it not just be numbers.
Make it not be numbers, exactly. Like, you know, one way to do that is actually, you know, instead of just like, let's say Instagram, right? Instead of just posting videos about, you know, or footages of like, you know, people getting bombed or people getting tortured, like in like, you know, like those concentration camps in China, right? Maybe send some videos or post some posts about people who are actually living in those situations and how their life is, or how their situation is, how it is for them. Maybe interview them. Maybe, you know, go, like, obviously maybe not everyone can do this, but like some of us, like, go down to these countries and interview these people, like, you know, put subtitles whatever in it, and sort of just be able to see them for yourself.
I think another good strategy is, sometimes you see these videos of like Syrian kids have come to the West and they become like some major influential figure or whatever, right? Or like a big doctor, they've come to the West and they've treated some important patient or whatever. Or they're making, basically what I'm trying to say, these, again, I'm mentioning Syria, but I mean everywhere else too. These people that have been brought up in poverty and war and famine are now becoming these powerful and influential and strong figures. So I think to show their successes going from the bottom to the top is good as well, because it might encourage other people to say, listen,
it might inspire.
Yeah, exactly. Like our money isn't going to waste. Like our charity is worth it, and us helping these people is actually worth it, because then they can actually contribute to society.
Like a lot of people, they kind of think like, oh, you know, it doesn't matter what we do, the situation, it will always be like this.
Yeah.